We're live.
We're live from Boone, North Carolina for episode 10
Episode 10. We made it to double digits.
of The Art of Hunting.
Yeah. We were just talking, Zach is filming a day in the life of an artist video. So he was here early when I worked out, and then like taking the kids to school, taking Rhett to school and all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
it's been fun.
Yeah.
We I listened to 50 Cent, actually 50 Cent. It's 50. I listen to him when I work out, and I do not have clean versions.
Oh, Lord.
So it's just me out there. So, yeah, Zach got to witness that
That's
this morning.
funny. 50 Cent. 50.
Yeah.
I listened to like the other day, I was like, Cole, do you want some hype music? He's like, yeah. And you'd think I'd listen to like the football player playlist that I had. No, I pull on some Avril Lavigne, baby.
Oh, yeah.
I love her. Her new rock album is dope.
Yeah.
It is good. I don't want anyone to hate on Avril Lavigne because
Yeah.
her new album is fire.
We had one of the hilarious things that happened is, so I usually work out from like 6:30 to 7. We've got to leave the house at 7:30, and I take Rhett to school and then come back here. And so Kim is usually awake, like cooking breakfast, packing lunches, stuff like that. So I come in, get my coffee, shower. The kids are getting ready. Well, Kim, she went, Brooklyn had something in the middle of the night. I don't know what was going on, but she slept in Brooklyn's bed.
Aw.
Didn't have her phone on her. So I walk in the house this morning and everybody's asleep. And, Kim is usually up and cooking breakfast and all that kind of stuff every day. So I cooked breakfast, and Zach was in there, and I was like, yeah, we're filming a day in the life of the artist. She's like, no, I cook breakfast every day. This is not legit. Like, we're going to have to reshoot this.
Yeah.
Because I cook breakfast every day, and this is not right. It's going to look like I'm a deadbeat wife.
Poor Kim. No,
It was
Kim.
hilarious, though.
No, Kim, I'll fight for you. I know
But-
you don't.
No, she's a rock star. Like, I mean, the kids go to 2 different schools, and I mean, I want to get back to work. So like, we got to be out the door at 7:30. And if I work out till 7, none of that is happening. So like, but I cooked breakfast, and even Rhett was asleep this morning.
Oh.
But yeah, it looked like I was doing everything. She's like, no, that's not right. That's not a typical day in
This
life.
is
We're not
incorrect.
doing that. So, yeah. But I'm proud we made it to episode 10.
Yes. Today we're talking about what the customer likes versus what Ryan the artist likes. I think that's going to be a cool topic.
It's a tricky one.
It is tricky because I feel like lately we've been having so many meetings and we're trying to get that sweet spot of, okay, yeah, where's the customer going to like? Or
Yeah.
how's the customer going to like this? Or we really try to put ourselves in the customer's shoes.
Yeah.
So I definitely think it's very interesting.
Yep. And again, there is a difference between we talked about this in an earlier episode. Go watch that, get our hours up. But we talked about this earlier, but like creating art that sells. And you can create all the art that you want. Sometimes it is a different thing creating something that people want to purchase and buy and spend their hard-earned money on versus, oh, that's cool on Instagram, and scroll right past it. So,
Right.
And that is the sweet spot if you're going to be successful, if you actually want to run a business, feed your kids, all that kind of stuff. That's what you got to figure out.
And I remember too, the other day you came in and you were just like, because you said one of your buddies was thinking about creating products and you're like, it's a whole new ball game.
Yep.
It's a totally
Shay.
different animal.
Yeah. Well, he's been in landscaping for a while and grown a big business. I don't know how he handles all the projects and clients and employees and materials. And that's one thing that we have here. I like giving them a hard time. Like, dude, I just bought a $4,000 Mac. And
Yeah.
it's going to last like 7 years. And then I'm going to have to get another one. And they're like, well, dude, I had to drive to Bristol to buy an $80,000 dump truck yesterday.
Oh, gosh.
Like the materials that it takes to run my business are dramatically smaller scale than his, but it's still a service business.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, you have to make the customer happy. And that was what I was doing, design work.
Right.
When you're selling a product, so he bought a landscape supply deal. So he's like a little mini nursery. And that's a different deal because now instead of like asking what kind of flowers the customer wants planted in their front yard, and they say we want these, and he goes and buys them and plants them. Now he's got to try to forecast, well, what are people going to buy? Because I got to spend my own money on that,
Yeah.
having an inventory, and then try to sell it. And if there's a disconnect there, you're stuck on a bunch of inventory.
True. Well,
So
we know that like with the lab print.
mm-hmm. Lab print, that was the first one. And so we really try hard to put ourselves in the customer's shoes. And I had this early on. Ton of people all the time on social media. I'd post an original oil painting, and a lot of times, I still don't. We don't just finish an oil painting and go right to an edition of prints. There's paintings that I never make prints of, and a lot of times when I was first starting out, I didn't have the money to like go produce an edition of prints and inventory those and sell them. So we would do a little bit on demand, and if a bunch of people asked, like, oh, I'd love to have a print of this, I'd love to have a print of that, well, I'd go make an edition of prints and then reach back out to those people like, hey, I got this print, here it is for sale, and there'd be crickets chirping.
Oh.
And so, again, it's a different deal creating work that people like and thinks is cool versus they actually get out their credit card online and pay. So that's one thing you've got to get dialed in. But the lab print, like you were talking about, we had done the growth and maturity, and we had done the Grand Slam print, and I started thinking, what else can we do? And I thought, well, what about a lab print? And labs are a global breed. I mean, they ain't just, it's not like deer in North America.
Mm-hmm.
And, the lab print's great. We've sold them, but I literally thought we were going to be shipping these things internationally, like to London and stuff like that. And, it just hasn't really panned out that way.
Yeah.
So it's like we talked about with the growth and maturity print. Sometimes you just don't know. You got to try. And our deer and turkey stuff sell like fire. Waterfowl is good. Lab is okay, but it hasn't been a huge seller.
Well, and we constantly ask too, is it because maybe you listeners could give us a shout out and answer this question in the comments? Is it because it's not your dog, or is it because you like that dog on the print?
Yeah.
Is like what's the disconnect, listeners?
Well, I think, and again, the point of this podcast right here is I can have my own opinions, and they don't matter one bit.
Exactly.
Because what I like versus the customer like isn't always the same thing. But I think with the lab print, you've got to love the breed, the Labrador Retriever breed,
Yes.
to love that print.
Yes.
Like, you've got to be lab owners for life. Like, we've had yellows, we have had chocolates, we've had blacks. We just love them. That's the only dog we'll ever have. That's the print for you. But if you're just like, I had a dog, Bruce, when I was 14, and it was a yellow lab, and he was my favorite dog, but I've never had a lab since, that's probably not the print for you.
Yeah.
So,
or you could be like me and just see the dog and want the dog.
you just love the dog.
Cole used to make fun of me all the time because before I started working here, I almost bought it. And
Yeah.
he was like, Madison, you have a German Shepherd. It would look so weird having 3 Labradors on your wall and you have a German Shepherd. And
Yeah.
I was the girl that had a little yellow lab. Her name was Yellow Girl. I had a lab when I was a kid, but yeah. So Cole was like, you have a German Shepherd. Like, don't do that.
Well, the good news is, Madison, is you're getting married. So for your wedding gift, we're going to give you a lab print.
Heck yeah. I put it on our wall. Our wall's going to be full of Ryan Kirby art.
We give Madison a hard time because, like, if we ever discontinue a product or, like, move it into the outlet section of our website, it's like, well, there's another one for your wedding present,
Yeah,
Mad
our
Dog.
groomsmen gifts.
Oh, stamping bents, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I'll fight for the Labrador. The Labrador print's cool.
No, it's cool. And I've always used these projects as a springboard to create the art. And then we use it in a variety of other places. So, it might get licensed, or the lab poster that we have now, that's sold really well.
Yeah.
That's done real well. And all of that art and information is stuff that I did for the Labrador print.
Yes.
So, it's kind of like anything in art and work. It's like, it's never wasted effort. It's never wasted,
Yeah.
time. You're just growing and building for the next thing.
Yeah.
And just because one thing might not be a huge commercial success, it can still lead you to the next thing that could be. And that's how I've approached all of it. Like we're never going to go wrong if we show up and work hard every day and I'm producing new stuff and new art. We'll figure it out. We're all smart enough to figure it out, but you can't let the fear of failure just completely stop you and never do it. So
True. You got to take the leap.
And one thing we have done in order to figure out what the customer likes is, we've kind of taken baby steps on a lot of stuff. My phone always rings. It's always spam. Episode 10, we're in double digits and I'm still making rookie mistakes on the podcast. But we always kind of, I'm not going to say we dip our toe in the water because we put more effort into it than that, but like we're never going to drop like 6 figures launching a new product and just pray that it works. Like we're going to try this, see if it works, then adjust, try this, see if it works, adjust and adapt. And it's continually a refining process.
Yeah. But,
Madison handles all of our customer service emails and phone calls. So I rely on you a lot in meetings to say, like, what's the pulse of our customer? What have you heard about this? What are people saying? What do they like? What do they dislike? And all that.
Yeah. Or, how did you come up with your certain like lineup of canvases? Did you just pick, or did people tell you, or did you like have a poll? How did you come up with the...
I should have had a poll. No, we tried to, so one thing we have a lineup of 18 by 24 canvases. And the reason that we do that is we standardize the size so that we can offer multiple frame offerings. And that's one thing I wasn't doing at first is a lot of times I would, a piece would get picked up by a conservation group court pack. And then I would have, out of that canvas, I would have an artist proof edition of prints. And that was always a random size because it was whatever the conservation group size, whatever they ran it as, was the size that the print was, which was fine because, I got that artist proof series of prints that I could sell myself, but they were all over the map on sizes. So we had like 21 by 28, 14 by 18. And if I was going to order frames for that, you had to try to figure out what do customers want because we can only get one frame for that canvas. And then we have to order a completely different molding and frame for the other size canvas. Now what we do is everything is 18 by 24 that we sell ourselves. And what that allows us to do is give people the option to choose between 3 or 4 different frame styles because we just have these frame styles and we can mix and match whatever they order. We can put the quail painting in this one, deer in that one. It's all standardized. So I basically chose a variety of subject matter. So we're always going to have the most deer of anything, followed by turkeys. And then from there, it's kind of evenly spread across elk, quail, doves. What else am I missing? Waterfowl. It's going to be kind of spread evenly.
Yeah.
And we try to have enough option. You try to pay attention to what people are asking for, what they like, what they dislike. And you just do the best you can to provide something. And a lot of times, like people follow my work. They want to buy something of mine for their husband for Christmas. He's a quail hunter and they buy that quail piece. Like they're not, a lot of times the wife isn't going to like scroll through every piece I've ever done and ask for a specific one. She's just going to buy the quail piece because her husband's a quail hunter type deal. Yeah. So we try to have a variety of subject matter, species. I mean,
gotcha. Okay. I was just like wondering how that came to be.
Yeah. And a lot of it, we pay attention at Seaweed, to what sells too. Different markets are going to do different things. Obviously quail and doves are going to do really well in the low country of South Carolina. If we went out west, I wouldn't bring a bunch of doves and quail, bobwhite quail, so it'd be more deer and elk and stuff like that. So, you try to balance what the customers are asking for, what people are asking for versus what, is in my wheelhouse and what I want to do. And so that's a dynamic tension that's always there.
Has there been a piece or canvas that has taken off and was super popular that you were like, why do people like that one? Like that shocked you?
Yeah, there's been some originals that have sold. That's a hard question because like by the time we get a printed piece to canvas, whether that's a print or a poster or a canvas, we have like run all the numbers, tried to dial all that stuff in. I mean, you've seen the meetings that we have. Like we have a cost breakdown of everything from packing materials to the cost of the print to that. So it's very rare that I put a piece like that out there that's like, wonder if this will sell, and I'm surprised that it does. So that question would apply more to originals than anything else, because sometimes I will paint something and I'm like, man, that's a freaking turd. I don't like that at all. And people love it, I remember I brought a moose to Seawee a few years ago, and this is total Kim's credit. I try to trust Kim's intuition on a lot of stuff. And I had this moose. It was a big 24 by 36. It was one of my earlier pieces, and I just didn't really like it. It's kind of, sometimes I don't capture on canvas what I have in my head, and that was one of those pieces. I thought it'd be cooler than it was, in my opinion. She's like, you need to frame that and bring that to Seawee. I was like, all right, whatever, So it was a $6,500 painting, and I'll never forget. The other thing at Seawee is you never know who you're talking to.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there was a guy there. He had 3 boys, and they were awesome. They were all like early teens, and they were about to go to college. So we were talking about Little League and baseball and what they were going to do and go to college. And I'm thinking in my head, all right, this dude's about to send 3 kids through college. He ain't spending no money on original art. You know what I'm saying? He's saving for tuition.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but great guy, awesome guy in the construction business. And I was just talking to his boys, man, being friendly. It was like our second year there, so I didn't really know what I was doing, just chumming it up. And last day, he walks up and buys that moose painting. And he's like, man, I've been looking at this. I really appreciate you talking to my boys about art and sports and stuff like that. He's like, I killed a moose last year in the Yukon that's identical to that, and I want that over my living room wall. And so he bought it, walked away with it. And loves it, man. And you have stuff like that where just because I am not happy with it, I've got my own junk going on in my own head. Somebody else may love it. And turns out he was a really successful construction company. He killed a big moose that fall and was looking for a piece for his mantle. And so you just never know how all that stuff is going to come about.
That's really cool.
And I've learned that at Seawee. You never know who you're talking to.
Yeah.
Like, you never know. They very well could be a billionaire that flew in on their private jet.
Yeah.
And, you just never know.
Yeah. I feel like, too, we see, because in one of our meetings, we were talking about, too, like, who our customer is.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we have such a variety. Like, the Seawee crowd is, like, the billionaire flying in on their jet, and then you have the people like that want the paper prints that are blue collar, hardworking, stuff like that. So it's so hard, I feel like, too, like, to get the difference between who's gonna buy an original versus who's gonna buy a paper print or something like, or a canvas or something.
And that kind of goes with like our mission around here is I want to contribute to the atmosphere of hunt camp. Like, I want to bring the outdoors indoors. And I've always said that doesn't have to be an original oil painting. Like, that can be a piece of merchandise at Tractor Supply. That can be a poster. That can be a framed paper print. That can be a canvas, or that can be a 30 by 40, $11,000 original sitting over your mantle. Like, and I feel, I don't know if I'm unique in this way or not, but like, there's a lot of artists and there's a lot of like fancy art world stuff where like, oh, that's not good enough for us, And it's like, my target market is hunters. Like, that's what I am. That's who I create work for. That's who we're always going to be. And that's always going to be who I do work for. And so that doesn't mean it has to be an original oil painting for them. That can be anything. And, I grew up blue collar. So like I'm not about to pretend like I'm some fancy dude that only does, 5-figure original oil paintings for people. My goal is to bring the outdoors indoors and enrich people's lives through my work. That can be in any medium. That can be a sketch on Instagram, or we've started doing the sketch drops. People love that stuff, and I feel like the work that I do can make people's lives better. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not saving people in Uganda. I'm not doing that, but I feel like people, I can make their hunt camp cooler because of my work. And so we want to have multiple price points and different products so that pretty much anybody can access my work. And that's how I want to be. So that's our strategy there.
Did you have to have your arm twisted to sell prints? Like, were you hesitant about that? Or how did becoming to sell prints like come to be? How did that?
No, I grew up more around art prints than anything. In high school, we would go to Turkey Federation banquets, Ducks Unlimited banquets, and they just have prints there. About knock that
You did.
coffee over
I saw it.
big time.
That would have been bad.
Yeah, I grew up around the print market, so I associated wildlife art with like what I saw at Turkey Federation banquets, the Terry Redlands, the Art LeMays, those kind of guys, and so I've always been around prints. I guess going back, I probably would have always done more prints, except there's kind of a barrier to entry. Like you've got to get those things printed. You've got to come up with the money to get that stuff printed. And when I was first starting out, or when I was working, nights and weekends painting, when I was working at the Turkey Federation, I didn't have any money to produce prints. And like the first edition I ever did was an edition of 30 canvas prints of Posting Up. And, we printed those things in Edgefield. I stretched them myself. Like it was a big deal to get that first edition of prints. And I guess my point is I was more comfortable with the audience that would buy prints than anybody. Mm-hmm. Like I didn't know shows existed where people would spend 10, 20 grand in a weekend on original art. Like that wasn't the world I grew up in. And so I had to become more familiar with the original art market than I did the print market.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. Okay.
And when I did, little fun fact about when I won the junior duck stamp in high school, I was 16 and we were going to do a podcast on my biggest regrets. This is one of them. I just thought of it. But so I won the junior duck stamp contest, and I had the original, and then they would let me, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service would let me sell an edition of prints. And so the winner of the federal contest, it was a big deal. I mean, the estimated earnings were like 1.4 million or something like that in the year following that contest. So the person that won the adult contest could be expected to make it $1 to $2 million the following year on merchandise, royalties, prints from that. As when you win the junior, you're a minor, you're under 18, and so you don't have. There's not as much demand on that. You're kind of like the kid, they pat you on the back, pat you on the forehead or top of the head, like, good job, buddy.
Way to go, Junior.
we'll buy this. Good job. We'll do this as a little collector's item in case you make something of yourself one day later on down the road. But it was cool because I sat there next to Jim Hopeman and signed prints, and like they put me first so that people would ask for my autograph before they got his, But I made an edition of prints. And at the time, I grew up really blue collar, very simple, practical, conservative Midwest farm kid. And so I think I sold the prints for $100, and I feel like I only made 100 of them in there. And it turns out like that was a really big collector's item. We could sell those suckers today, 20 years later if we wanted to. But, they would allow you to sell prints, to make prints for 3 years. And again, me being conservative and not know any better, I asked them if we could shorten the contract to 1 year. I just want to sell it for 1 year. And so I sold the prints, and I had to keep a ledger of how many I sold and then pay a royalty back to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. So because I was a minor, I think technically like they owned the art and they allowed me to make prints but kick them back a royalty.
Oh, okay.
And that's how all that worked. But I still remember I had a ledger of like old school checking register of when we sold them, who I sold it to, and then I would mail a quarterly check back to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. So I was doing prints when I was 16.
Yeah.
That's all I knew. And I was doing very conservative runs. And looking back on it, I should have blown that out of the water.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's a good story.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And even later, to go super old school, is they made a certain number of stamps. So mine was the JDS 7, Junior Duck Stamp 7. And if you look online, there's stamp collectors out there that collect that stuff. And the plate blocks, I think plate blocks were 4, the 4 in the corner. And I had a couple sheets of stamps. And I don't even know if they might have given them to us when we were in D.C. We might have paid a little bit of money for them. But for some reason, they didn't make as many of my stamps that year, which makes them more valuable. They just didn't print as many. And I remember when I graduated college, I think I had $6,500 in student loan debt that I was trying to pay off. I was on the Dave Ramsey track trying to sell that, and I had one sheet of stamps left, and I sold that sheet of stamps to pay off my student loan debt.
You only had $6,500?
Yeah.
Jealous.
Mm-hmm. Because my parents really worked. Well, we talked about this. I had a bunch of scholarship.
True.
So I wasn't making payments till I was a junior. I didn't have debt start racking up till I was a junior. And even then it was only like half tuition. And my parents were trying to payroll. They were doing the best they could, and they paid a lot,
Mm-hmm.
So that, shout out to mom and dad.
Thanks, Mom.
But yeah, I think I had about $8 or $9 grand when I graduated, and then I
Wow.
started chipping away at that.
That's nice.
And then sold my sheet of Junior Duck stamps to pay for it.
That's cool, though.
Not really. I should have held on to it.
But shout
I should have
out
had that sucker framed.
Dave Ramsey. We're huge fans. We're huge followers of your baby steps.
But had to do what you got to do.
Yeah, that's cool though.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, where are we at?
Where else are we gonna go, Mad Dog?
I think we got like 10 more minutes.
Yeah. So
What else had we mentioned and listed out?
Well, we get a lot of requests too, and we've talked about that. We get a lot of requests from customers, and you field all this stuff. I don't really even see them, but I see some on social media. But a lot of, will you paint my dog?
Yes.
Will you draw my dog? Will you draw my trail camera?
Yeah.
Picture,
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. And I don't do that. We've got a lot going on here, and I would be constantly trying to do commissions if we did. So I rarely do commissions. We've got a couple lined up for bigger buyers, but one of the things we get into with commissions is a lot of times buyers get real specific, and they want, like, I want, my daddy's old barn with my grandpa in the picture, and sitting here with my turkey and all that kind of stuff, and they get real specific. And I spent the first half of my career doing client work, where I'm at the whim of whatever that client wants. And a lot of times with the creative work, with the art, the painting, I want to do what I want. And so there are times where I do things that literally I want to do them creatively for my own good, and I don't worry if they're going to sell or not. Like, it's just kind of what's inside of me that I want to get out. It's my creative outlet. So
Yeah.
there are times we deeply care what the customer wants, and then there's times where I'm going to sketch a bullfrog because I want to sketch a freaking bullfrog, and I had a long day.
Yeah. Leave me alone. I need to sketch.
So, and that's a tricky balance. I mean, and that's something where you always hear, like, musicians, you hear this a lot. Oh, they're a sellout. Now they're doing pop country because they know it's going to be commercial,
Yeah.
And you hear that a lot too. And that's a tough balance where you do want to be a creative, you have a vision and do your own thing. And you also have to be commercially successful because you got bills to pay. And so you got to balance that out a little bit. So I don't know. I don't know if we've quite figured that out. We've done fine, but
Yeah.
we're like I said earlier, it's a dynamic tension. It's back and forth all the time.
Yeah, and I try to pass along to the ones that are just like, "Hey, I'm just looking for a turkey in the Georgia pines or
Yeah.
whatever." And I'll be like, "Ryan, do you like this idea?" And he's like, "I mean, yeah."
Yeah.
It's stuff like that. I feel like you're more like, "Don't give me stipulations."
Yeah. I don't want to be micromanaged.
Yeah.
And it is very rare. It's very rare to have a commission that's not micromanaged. You know, like, oh, the spots on the dog aren't quite right. Can you repaint that? Or, oh, I should have sent you a better photo. The dog doesn't look like that. It actually looks like this, you know? And so, and then you get into that. And I love the creative process. And then we get to that point, and I get like, oh God, I want this to be over with.
Yeah. I gotta go paint this dog.
So we have some buyers of mine. Like I'm gonna do a dove piece for Texas, where he's like, look, I got a ranch in Texas, and I just need like a 24 by 36 dove piece. I love your doves. I want to fill something with that space there. And those are the kind that we love, because I can do what I want, and they're going to be cool with it. And again, this is the point of this podcast.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, when I can do what I want creatively, I feel like the product's going to turn out better.
Yeah.
We've talked about how your mindset affects your product. And if I have in the back of my mind, God, I don't want to do this project, it usually turns out that way. Like that's my subpar work.
Yeah.
So I gotta look out for that too.
Yeah. Was there any piece at Seawee that you were like, oh, this one won't sell, and it sold, or that you like?
None that really stood out. I feel like we had a pretty good lineup.
Yeah.
And my Seawee lineup was strategic, where it's like we've got to I want to hit this many dogs, this many quail, this many that. So there's always thing. It's very rare that I do a painting that I look back a couple years later and there's something I wish I should have done that different.
Yeah.
Man, I should have painted that background this way, or the color's a little hot there. I should have toned that down.
Yeah.
I felt pretty good about it. I'm surprised the End of the Limelight didn't sell.
Yeah, the lab.
There's a lot of diehard duck hunters down there, and you figure the odds of the ones that mallard hunt with black labs and mossy oak vest. It's like, I know we're kind of narrowing down the market, but there's a bunch of them down there.
Yeah.
So I thought we'd sell that one.
Well, didn't like the beagle, you like scraped the whole back off of it?
Yeah, that I wrestled with that one a lot. Zach did a YouTube video on that, and I scraped the whole background and repainted it. And I was surprised at how well that one did. It sold quick. There's just a lot of, old school beagle hunters that, or maybe they hunted rabbits when they were a kid and liked it. So that's probably one I need to do again. A subject I need to do again.
I thought, you did that one, and that hit home here because I was like, I grew up doing that. That's so fun. I was like, and I'd send it to Cole. I'd be like, this painting's going to Seawee. I want this painting. He again was like, you don't have a beagle. And I was like, I don't care.
Well, and I think that part of the cool stuff about those hunting dogs is I'd like to do a long horizontal piece that has multiple beagles chasing a rabbit.
Yeah,
the one that we did is like very frontal. The rabbit's running, beagles right behind it, which is cool. But it's fun seeing those dogs go through all the briars and brambles and stuff like that.
I could even like hear it in the picture. I don't know. It was just awesome. That was so cool. I showed it to my grandfather, who still has hunting beagles, and I was like, look at this painting, isn't this awesome? He was like, oh, I like that one.
And a piece like that is one we could make prints of that and sell a bunch of them, and you'd never know. Like, you just and it's one of those deals. I'm going to do a beagle for Seawee. Okay, that was cool. It's a success. Well, then maybe we'll do a print of beagles. One thing we're talking about doing too is doing print drops, where we announce what we're going to drop. You've got so much time to buy it. When it's done, it's done, just like we've done the sketch drops, because that way we don't have to inventory everything, but we can still give people what they want and give them a chance to get it.
Yep. There's a lot of new stuff in the works, people.
Yep.
You should sign up for our newsletter.
That's right. Sign up for the newsletter.
That's where it'll first be sent out. So sign up for the newsletter. Speaking of
giveaway time.
Giveaway.
Oh, conveniently, there's another print right behind me.
framed print.
Yeah, we so later today on social, we are going to announce the winner of the Growth and Maturity frame print giveaway that we did. We had a ton of people sign up for the newsletter.
It was like 165 people, so awesome.
Yep.
Thanks, guys.
And we're going to start doing it. We're going to do giveaways routinely on YouTube and social. So we're going to announce the winner of the Grand Slam or the Growth and Maturity print on social later today. And this week's giveaway is the Grand Slam subspecies of the wild turkey. Again, framed in Timberland.
Yep. It's a popular one.
It's real popular during turkey season.
Yep.
We sell a lot of them.
Yep.
So
we will, isn't it ryankirbyart.com/giveaway?
Yes. Good job on that, by the way. ryankirbyart.com/giveaway. Zach will put the link in the bio or the description below.
When are we announcing this winner?
Let's do this one in a week.
Okay.
We're on podcast schedule now.
Okay,
So we gave the first
Tuesday.
one like 10 days, I think.
So Tuesday.
Next Tuesday we'll announce a winner.
Thanks, guys. That wraps up episode 10.
Thank you very much. We'll see you later.